So look who shows up. It's been like a while.
Been a long while.
Yeah. And he's got a genuine article right here.
Yeah, 154 from 1984.
Wonder what year mine is. Got some guys taking down a tree stand right there. What year is this one?
Same year.
So they got some cousins right here. How do you tell? Does it say right on there?
Yeah, right there, 1984.
Huh. This one looks like it was modified by Bob. That muffler mod right there. We got a little bit of firewood stuff to do, but mostly today is about reconnect. Not sure how much time we're going to put on video. It's not as high a priority right now for me.
A little later when we
get
silly.
So we just finished putting a little bit of gas in this one right here, and I tapped the carburetor so it should run. And Bob is about ready to do the same thing to that one.
This hasn't run in several years.
Yeah. I'm just going to set the camera informally on the tailgate here, and then we can struggle with these things for a little bit. How do you know what year this one is? It's got some goofy number on it.
They kind of have to be decoded.
1016398. So that's an actual serial number is what it is. That one runs, but you sure don't want a bore cut with that chain. That's got to be a Walper filing on that one. It's got some really, really aggressive rakers. Let's see if this will go. I don't think I've had this one started in a long time. It would help if it had gas.
That's twice today. I think I'm rusty.
See, he's not going to let that one go away. That's bone dry. You know why? Because last week I just finished letting this one dry out. So look at that, two hot rod Huskies from the late 1970s, early 1980s. This probably wouldn't be a bad two saw combination back then, right? 80cc saw right there.
Yeah, the old, 77 and 54. Kind of like the 50-70 thing we do today.
Yeah. Now if we can get them to run.
Yeah, I boiled the carburetor in this. I never even ran it since I did that. So where are those guys going? Are they taking that thing down?
Yeah, because that tree's coming down. I guess right here we have kind of like the old versus the new in the saws, and that wouldn't got the oiler and the oil tank and the gas tank in the same case, right?
Yeah.
And this was like the new layout.
What are the differences between the 154 and the 254s that the 154 doesn't have the air injection. The left side of the case is different.
Yeah. So you said the 154 doesn't have air injection?
No, that came along with the 254.
So one of the things that Bob used to point out is like the modern saw type arrangement. Here's a 565 where you have the gasoline in the tank handle and the bar oiler in the same case as the crankcase. Of course, this was a 2171 turned into a 2175 with the XPW, so it shows it there as well. But that basic layout started pretty early on. I think the 61 I have up in the garage is from 1979. And I don't know when the first version of these saws came out.
Oh, which is the first one to separate the tank
Yeah.
from the crankcase?
Yeah, because this has got it gasoline and bar oil in the same case. These don't. These have it in the tank handle separate. Oh, yours has got a muffler mod too. Look at that. I really do think that they came from the same hop-up shop. Pretty sure.
No, I did mine. I didn't do that thing.
Huh. All right, let's see if we can get these to run. I think they're ready to rip. This saw right here hadn't been on the channel for quite a while. This weekend it did a couple of pine trees. So this saw has turned into my pine tar saw. It's going to be a lot of fun getting the pine tar off of this thing. Alright, so we're going to take a couple of cuts on that right there with the different saws. I guess I'll take one with mine and one with Bob's. So this is a hot rod saw. You know how you can tell it's a hot rod? It's got gold colored links. So this one's got gold colored links on the chain, so you know it's going to be fast.
Cut the rest of that branch off.
What's that?
Cut the rest of that branch off too. Switch.
This one's got more compression.
Don't choke it. Well, what happened here?
So we take a little break. Bob brought something up, and sometimes you gotta say, hey Bob, we gotta get this on tape because it's information that would go away and nobody would ever know to even ask. So go ahead.
Well, there's some gasket options for these. One of them is no longer around. This, as a lot of guys know, this crankcase is the same exact crankcase that they use well, not this one because it's the 154. Went to the 254. That crankcase was shared with the 257 and the 262. And the difference is the 54 has like the shorter rod or whatever in there. And
so you can't interchange cylinders because you got a short rod. Same crank, short connecting rod. So the top end on the 154, 254 series is a little bit different than the 257 and 262.
yeah, I got one of them over there if we want to look at it later.
Yeah.
In case you want it, because they're no longer available.
I do.
So they come out with some different gaskets. When the 154 first came out, it was a 0.7 millimeter gasket. And then they upped it to 1 millimeter because it was idling a little bit off. Instability, they call it. There's actually a service bulletin on this. You can dig up all the old shit if you know how to find them in the Husky type. I think you got to be a dealer. You don't have, regular guys, don't have access to all that. And in a few months, I won't have access to it anymore either.
No, you can say that if you want.
So anyway, there's two gaskets available. The 2 millimeter gasket, which was in most of the. This is a weird switch. It's not even.
That's not stock. That's
like
a Walter.
Switch or something.
That's a kill switch.
So the 57 and the 62 used the 2 millimeter gasket. When they came out with the 261 with that dish piston, it's just a lame saw. They ruined one of the best saws. So they went back to a 1 millimeter gasket for the 261. And the thing is, if you're building any 257s or 262s, definitely use the 01 gasket, not the 02 gasket. Just by coincidence, the 01 is the 1 millimeter and the 02, just the part number ends in those two digits is the 2 millimeter. So you definitely want to use those. Unless you're buying the aftermarket kits, because the aftermarket 262 kits, you don't use a gasket at all. Because, well, you know how they are. They don't have any, compression or squish. So,
yeah.
So that's the way to go with that. There's a decent one, actually. Saw Salvage has a decent 262 aftermarket kit. If you build it without the gasket, she actually runs pretty good.
Who makes that one, I wonder?
I don't know. I have to ask Chris.
Yeah.
He might not even say. Because he's got some really good sources of stuff. I don't know. He would like. Just call these guys. So anyway, just a little bit of trivia. And when the 154 went to the 254, that's when it changed to the air injection thing with the big decal. And you can kind of interchange the starters, but this left side of the crankcase is actually different.
That's good. That's information, Bob. No one's going to know that stuff. Wouldn't even know to ask. Something, I wonder if that explains it. I had a 254 that I had kind of increased the compression on. He had a 154, which just about smoked it. And I wonder if it had the thinner gasket.
No, it's that one.
I know it. That thing runs
good.
good.
In that one.
Oh, that's what it is. There's no gasket.
No gasket in there. Yep. Now that it's in the shade, it's taking its nap. Maybe we can get it to run again. You get to try it.
So they both did the same thing. They both vapor locked, wouldn't restart. And I was asking Bob, and he gave me a Bob answer. Is that why they went to the rubber boot and the heat transfer from the cylinder through the screws to the carburetor?
If you look back, like that 670 was acting up a little bit even with the boot.
Yeah.
It wouldn't pick up right away. Same thing, got hot. It ran, and I just let it idle for a while till the throttle responded. But that whole series of saws, when you start with the 266 and the 630, they use that same intake block.
Yeah.
And there's like 3 different intake blocks because they were trying to eliminate some of that heat transfer, and that's what they had, like the double set of screws, and then they had the block with the bigger diameter because they went to the sleeve screws.
Yeah.
And by the time they came out with the 268 and the 272, they had the big long sleeve screws. So that heat transfer through the block was kind of a thing they had to fight until they gave up and decided to go with the boot when the 372 came out. But the 670s had the boot. Every other saw in that chassis, the 268s, 266, the 61s, the 630s, they all had an intake block except the 670 and actually the 625 also had the boot. But then that gets complicated.
Yeah.
Because there's like an early boot and a late boot. And there's something with they went to a bigger boot so they could use the wider clamp. The early ones had the little wire clamp, which just looked like some guy took a wire and twisted it with pliers. That's all it was. But it was actually a part. So they realized that they needed a better clamp, and they went to the little band clamp.
Yeah.
So they had to get a wider boot that would accept the clamp, and they also had the neck on the cylinder was extended out to accept that. So you can kind of get away with the old boot on the new cylinder, but not the other way around. And this is that shit that you learn after 30 years of doing this.
Yeah, no one's going to know that stuff,
what
Bob.
What fits, what doesn't fit.
So there was a guy who gives me a phone call, and he wanted to know about putting a fuel line in for an 830 John's thread. And Bob goes, well, just get a Husqvarna.
Well, just the 372 line.
Will fit right in there, the squiggly one.
Yeah, because it doesn't need a grommet. It's a non-grommeted.
Was the 820?
That's what I used it at, like the 70Es and the 52E that I got. Just use the 372 line. There's so many. It's like the same basic line, or sometimes they got the coil to them, the curling line. But there's like a million different part numbers of different lengths of that line. It's stupid. We don't stock them. You know, some guys say, just here, use the 372 line or 346, just snip like 3 inches off. But you know, we just buy them like a bag of 50 at a time. We're not, you know, because you go nuts with it.
Yeah, just clip them if you need to. Well, it turned out to be a good day.
Oh, this is great. I needed this in the worst way.
Yeah. And we got a lot to do. We have a couple of things to try. I don't know how far we'll get during the day because, I mean, we started this whole thing saying let's just kind of reconnect and bullshit, but next thing you know, here we are running saws and splitting wood.
Well, I got some energy to burn off, so I don't mind doing a little work, and then we can BS later. But
yeah. But I like this little saw. That thing's a snappy little saw. It must be the muffler. See that or this?
This is absolute. I don't know who built this, but this has got to be a record for
number of
how
holes.
many different holes in a muffler. Oh, that's not good. It's 13.
13.
That's 13.
But you know, this bar and chain, I got this down at Tractor Supply because nobody was open on the Sunday when I bought this saw for like $100. And I think I did a video on this a while back that what happens if you can't find a decent bar and chain, you need it right now. So I went down and bought this thing. I don't know what it cost. Too much money is what it did.
It's working.
But it works. It cuts wood. Like Bob, you'd say over and over again, it puts wood in the truck. And actually, it's cutting pretty good, I think. But that's a good little chain.
You want to talk about them cylinders just a wee bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is another one you can't get anymore. No longer available.
It's a nice looking part.
Basically, well, not basically, the reality is the 3 saws in this chassis, you cannot get the top ends for any of them now.
Wow.
This, I kind of keep an eye on shit when it's starting to go away. I'll grab a couple, just in case. But, we're closing down now, so we're letting these go.
Well, you can tell that too. I don't know if you want me to put that. I just have, I've avoided.
It's okay. I mean, and here's something everybody should really know.
Here, let me start from scratch. Hang on. All right, go.
This is the, we played around a couple of earlier videos 2 years ago, whatever. And on the 372 2171 chassis with these 48 millimeter, from the 365 and the 2165 saws. It's kind of like the architecture, the layout's kind of the same as 372, 48 millimeter instead of 50, and we found these run really good.
They do. They run surprisingly well. They go against common online knowledge because they have the smaller transfers.
Yeah, smaller displacement.
Yeah.
In most cases, there's a big drop when you do something like that, but this really, we've had some fun with them. Plus, it's not our imagination. They actually do run longer than a tank of gas.
They do.
However, for this entire chassis, all these really nice Molly cylinders from Germany are gone. They're gone, and for the early first generation non-X-Torque saws, and you can still get one. There's a part number, but it changed. It's a whole different prefix. And I was like, who's making these things? Because down in Brazil, they're still making the 272, 288 top ends. They're still making them. There's a Kolbenschmidt factory down in Brazil, and those saws are still made in Brazil. If you want to have some fun, and gee, I wish I could get these, go to the Husky site Brazil. I don't know what's the abbreviation for Brazil, BZ or BR, whatever.
Yeah, BRZ, I think.
When you see all the models that you can still get there, you can still buy 272s, the first generation 372. 288s. It's kind of like, gee, why can't I order? Matter of fact, I sent asked like 15 or 20 dealers, hey, I'm a dealer, I gotta get a response ready. So, anyway, so all these top ends for the original 372 and 365 have been replaced by top ends from Gilardani in Italy. And they're garbage. They're really not that good, and it costs 300 bucks. The price went to the stratosphere, went crazy. So, you know, for guys that are looking, if you always go to a Husky dealer, order a 370, if they don't have it in stock, old stock like I've got, you're going to get one of those, and it's going to cost an arm and a leg. These things at one point, actually, well, yeah, because you can't get them anymore, right? So I don't really care. This thing cost me like 100 bucks. You know, and they were retailing for like $1.50. They went up to $1.70. They got replaced by this Italian, you know, and it's just not that good. So they got replaced by this cylinder that, and the price basically doubled. My cost on them was almost $200. So well, I mean, I've only got a handful. I got like 6 or 7 left, but be careful when you're buying these things because you're going to get a surprise. But yeah, these things, as we've known them all these years, that saw has been going like 11, 12 years now. So. Disappointing news. You can't really get this anymore.
Well, I've got one, and I'm not letting it go.
Well, just like the the big board, the XPW kit, whatever we're calling it. You know, that also that's going too, and that's been going for a couple of years.
Yeah, there's one sitting right behind you, underneath that red cover.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got two that are on saws.
They don't wear out either.
I got a red one and I got an orange one, but I don't have any more of those 51.4s left. This is the last one of these. I got some 50 millimeters, but that's it. There was 2 part numbers for the 50 millimeter kits that were available up until like the middle of the summer, and you had the original 371 kit, which you could get, so you could buy it with a single ring or you could buy it with a double ring. So anyway, but it's all history now. But just be careful buying them because you got who made this? Yeah. Because yeah, I know a guy that's got some, and he says, yeah, the first batch it looked like a Chinese kit.
Oh, it probably was.
Well, who knows? But you know, not for 300 bucks.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what to say. I'm getting a little bit older. I don't have tons and tons of years, so what I've kind of come to the conclusion is I'm going to do the ones I like to run.